Ladies and gentlemen, every so often, a moment sneaks into your life, quietly, without fanfare, but it carries the weight of a lifetime's worth of wisdom. A story like this doesn't begin with fanfare. It starts on a dusty roadside, a luxury car broken down, and a woman, dressed not in uniform, but in dignity, kneeling to help, not because she had to, but because it was right. Let me tell you what happened when a black woman, a stranger, stopped to help a millionaire stranded in his polished suit beside a broken-down machine. She had oil on her hands, sweat on her brow, and a ring on her finger. And it changed everything. Character is built in the quiet moments, in the spaces no one sees, in the seconds that pass without a witness. That woman didn't pull over to help a stranger because she wanted recognition. There were no cameras rolling, no likes waiting to be counted, no audience watching to cheer her on. She acted because something inside her whispered that doing the right thing matters, even when no one's looking. That whisper was stronger than vanity, louder than pride. She didn't ask what kind of car he drove, or how much money he had in the bank. She didn't pause to consider whether he could offer her anything in return. She didn't care if he was a millionaire or a mechanic. What she saw wasn't status. It was need. What she felt wasn't judgment. It was compassion. She got out of her own world and stepped into his. That's the kind of strength we rarely celebrate. The truth is, real character isn't built under stage lights. It isn't born out of applause or sculpted through praise. It's shaped in the unseen choices we make when no one is around to reward them. It's tested in silence and proven in private. Character is revealed when you're tired and still show up, when you're busy and still take the time, when you're hurting and still choose to help someone else heal. This woman chose to serve, not to be seen. She chose kindness, not convenience. She chose humanity, not hierarchy. And in a world chasing platform and spotlight, her quiet act of selflessness speaks louder than 1,000 speeches. Because what the world needs now is not more influencers, but more people who influence by example. She didn't just fix a car, she revealed a heart, and that's where real power lies. The millionaire was used to being noticed for the gleam of his watch, the pristine leather of his shoes, and the quiet hum of his luxury car. People usually made room for him, smiled a little wider, nodded a little quicker. Power and wealth had a way of drawing attention, of making the world lean in his direction. He was accustomed to doors opening, to problems being solved with a signature or a swipe of a card. But on that day, with his car broken down on the side of the road and no assistant in sight, he found himself standing still, helpless and invisible. That's when she approached. No camera, no crowd, just one woman, moving with quiet confidence, offering help without hesitation. She didn't ask who he was. She didn't seem impressed by the car or the man who stood beside it. She simply noticed a need and responded. Her hands weren't manicured like the ones he was used to. They were steady, capable, and unafraid to get dirty. As she knelt beside the vehicle, adjusting something under the hood, the sunlight caught the ring on her finger. It wasn't extravagant, but it was meaningful, a symbol, a sign of commitment to someone. To something, a life built not on appearance, but on substance. For the first time in a long time, he felt disarmed. Her humility didn't make her smaller, it made her powerful. He was the one with the money, but she was the one with the strength. She didn't need applause, she didn't act out of pride. She moved from principle, and in her quiet act of service, she revealed something deeper than status, dignity, purpose, grace. In that moment, he realized wealth could impress, but only humility could truly inspire. Excellence is not a privilege, it's a choice. In a world where it's easy to walk past a problem and say, "Not my job," she stepped in, no fanfare, no audience, just action. She could have easily stood by, waited for roadside assistance, and no one would have blamed her. But instead, she knelt beside the vehicle, hands steady, eyes focused. She tightened bolts with confidence, checked wires like someone who knew what she was doing, and gave instructions like she'd been under a hood 1,000 times. Not because someone asked her to, not because it was expected, but because she carried a standard within herself that didn't require recognition. Excellence wasn't something she pulled out when people were watching. It was built into her DNA, woven into her every move. She didn't carry a title. She didn't need one. Her actions spoke louder than any badge or business card. That's the thing about true leadership. It doesn't wait for applause or authority. It steps forward when things need to be done. It shows up even when the spotlight's off. People will look at you and try to put you in a box. They'll judge you by what you look like, where you came from, or what they think you're worth. But those labels mean nothing if you choose not to wear them. That woman didn't wait for the world to tell her she was capable. She didn't seek permission to rise. She showed up with quiet strength, and in doing so, redefined what it means to lead. Excellence isn't handed down. It's not a gift. It's a decision made every day, in every small moment. And in that moment, she made it clear, you don't need a title to lead, and you don't need permission to be excellent. Dignity is not what you wear, it's how you walk. That millionaire, accustomed to the world bowing to his wealth, stood there humbled beside his broken-down car. He had everything money could buy, but in that moment, he lacked what truly mattered: help, grace, and presence. And then she arrived, a woman with no entourage, no luxury car, no designer logos. Just a calm confidence, sleeves rolled up, ready to help. He asked her, "Who are you?" That's when he saw the ring on her finger. Not flashy, not gold, studded, just simple but powerful, because the way she carried herself made it clear. She didn't need to be rich to act with grace. That ring didn't tell him she had status. It told him she had standards. She didn't walk like someone trying to prove her worth. She walked like someone who already knew it. She didn't just tighten bolts or reconnect wires. She did more than fix a car, she mended something deeper. His perception, his pride, his assumptions about strength and dignity. She healed something in him he didn't know was broken. And when it was all over, she didn't ask for thanks. She didn't pose for a photo. She didn't wait to be praised. She simply nodded, smiled, and walked away, but her impact stayed because dignity doesn't shout. It doesn't parade. It walks softly with purpose, leaving a mark deeper than applause could reach. That day, the millionaire didn't just meet a woman. He encountered dignity in motion, not wrapped in wealth or fame, but clothed in integrity, purpose, and faith. And though the moment passed, her presence lingered. Because when dignity walks by, it's not forgotten. It's remembered in silence, in awe, and in transformation. That day didn't end with applause or headlines. There were no cameras, no parade of praise. Just the quiet hum of an engine coming back to life. A few words exchanged, and the woman drove away, back into the rhythm of her day like nothing extraordinary had happened. But for the man standing there, everything had changed. He had seen something that shook him, not the mechanics of how she fixed his car, but the conviction with which she moved, the calm, the certainty, the strength behind her silence. She didn't have to stop. She could have passed him by like so many others had, but she didn't. She stepped in, not to be seen, but because it was the right thing to do. She knelt beside the car, her hands steady, her eyes focused, not on his wealth, but on his need. And then he saw it. The ring, not flashy, not loud, but it carried weight. Not the weight of gold, but the weight of purpose. She was already committed, not just to a person, but to a calling, a deeper sense of responsibility. A code. That ring was a reminder that her life was rooted in something unshakable: faith, character, and conviction. That's when he understood. Greatness doesn't always arrive with noise. Sometimes it's quiet. It kneels in the dust. It lifts others when they've stalled, and it walks away not looking for credit, but leaving behind a spark that lights something in someone else. So ask yourself, what's the small act of courage you're ignoring today? Because in that act could be the moment someone else finds their way. Be the one who chooses to show up, not because it's convenient, but because it matters, because sometimes the smallest act can echo forever.